What is up? What is happening, everybody? Welcome back to Blood Splatter Chatter. We are live, and this is the second show in the first week of our big summer event, the Summer Abroad. And we are still in Japan. We did Ring last week, and this week we are doing Godzilla Minus One. We're going to do a little Kaiju Trivia and talk about some Godzilla in general. Super excited to be here with this awesome panel. I was flabbergasted. I looked and I saw John Hammer Time Holshoe just went to Japan. Just went there, just got back, and I was like, dude, perfect. John, I love when you're on Robbie's channel. I love it. You're like one of my favorite people that's on it. So I was very excited. Perfect timing to have you join us. So welcome to the show, my brother, Hammer Time Holshoe.
Thanks for having me, man. I don't do the shows a lot with Robbie. I'm kind of gone towards more like manga and stuff and read less comics. But on top of that, I don't like being on camera. So I'm here though. I'm here. And excited to talk about Minus One because oh man, I love Godzilla. Man, I love Godzilla.
Well, I appreciate it, man, and I enjoy every time you're on camera. And my man, who enjoys himself on camera, as we just talked about backstage, as much as I do, Rockin' Robbie. Thanks for being here, brother. Thanks for reaching out to John and setting it up for me too. I appreciate that.
Oh yeah, dude, super excited when I saw that you were adding this into your Summer Abroad, which is already an amazing idea to do, and I cannot wait to be part of more of these shows. But when I saw that you had added Godzilla Minus One, I was like, man, I still haven't seen it. This will give me the excuse to be like, I gotta watch it, because when I want to watch a movie, I'm always like, am I caught up on the stuff I have to watch? Right? So let's just throw in Godzilla Minus One and force myself to watch it. And very, very glad that I did. Very happy to be here.
Awesome, man. And I knew you would be. I knew you would be. Switch things around a little bit. Missing Link, my brother, who I know you got a little bit of kaiju. You're a fan of the genre to a certain degree, so I was happy to you joining us for this one. What's up, man? Welcome back, as always. Like you weren't just here a few days ago.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Like Robbie, this gave me a reason to watch. So put it ahead of the back burner, you know. So I was glad that I did that. This is a great movie.
Hell yeah, man. This is one like as soon as it came out and released theatrically, I think in Japan, and maybe it came out later here, whatever. It was like a big deal. Like everyone was talking about it. And it was one that I wanted to go to the theater and see it at the time, but I ended up just being like, oh, screw it. We'll wait till it comes to streaming. And then it dropped very suddenly on Netflix. So for anyone out there that hasn't seen it yet, you've been wanting to see it, it is on Netflix. There's no physical yet, which I really want to get. I'm hoping they do a 4K. John, you picked up the Blu-ray, right?
I picked up Blu-ray when I was in Japan. There's no subs, which I'm okay with because I've been learning Japanese. But I don't know I don't know what was happening. I thought Toho was going to make a deal. Funimation released Shin Godzilla in the States, and I thought they'd make a deal with Funimation. And now that it's on streaming, is anybody going to want the rights? Because it'd be like, oh, so many people have already seen it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure Toho wants a bit of coin to have distribution rights in North America too. So I don't know what's going on. I was really surprised to see them drop it like that. And Netflix just announced that they're going to soon have the black and white version of Minus One.
That's
minus
awesome.
Color.
Because I was very curious about that too. It came out like day one or like within the first few days. I guess it was the first movie ever to be #1 on Netflix and #1 on Apple, which I don't know. You would think maybe that would happen more often. But I expected it. I was hoping to see it like stay in that #1 spot on Netflix for some weeks at a time. And it hasn't. It's already dropped down to like #6. Not that it matters, but just, I don't know. I was kind of hoping like it would be embraced by the Netflix audience and more general audience. And maybe it has, maybe it hasn't, but it's, it's not sitting there like I was hoping it was.
I mean, sometimes I think like, Netflix might manipulate things a little bit, push things, certain things they want people to see, So I think that might tie into it a little bit.
Right. Especially with their own shit. But I just want to start out before we get into, like I said, we're going to do a little Kaiju Trivia, which I'm excited about. I think I'm the one that's the most excited about it for sure. But, and I've learned a lot just setting up the Kaiju Trivia. Personally, like aside from Minus One, I didn't even know it was coming out. I wasn't planning on doing the show. I just randomly put on Gojira, like the original Godzilla, a couple weeks ago, because I'm at home a lot during the day with my daughter and I can't watch the horror movies I want to watch. So I've been watching a lot of like Hitchcock and like 50s sci-fi. Put Gojira on. It was the first time I'd ever watched that version of it. Really enjoyed the shit out of it. Obviously, it's a classic. And then I've watched like 7 of these things since. I've watched like one from the 70s, one from the 80s, Godzilla 2000, a couple of the MonsterVerse, and just like I've been in Godzilla mode like big time these last few weeks. But John, what's your history with Godzilla? When did you get into the franchise pretty much?
I think before I get to that, I'm going to mention, if you like Twilight Zone, Outer Limits, stuff like that, have you seen Ultra Q? Ultra Q. So the guy that did the special effects for Godzilla went on to do Ultraman. So you're familiar with Ultraman, I'm sure.
A little bit, yeah, like barely. Other than the fact of what he looks like and what his name is, like that's
yeah. He fights big kaiju. So before that, he wanted to do a show that was like Twilight Zone or the Outer Limits. Except the studios are like, we need kaiju. So it starts off always like the Outer Limits or whatever, but always ends up with like being a kaiju. But it's an amazing show and really ties every episode together. Is the same photographer who works for this newspaper. She's this adorable Japanese lady. Of course, it's a Japanese show. She ends up being the one that connects all this together because she's constantly, happens to be there where these kaijus are attacking. But if you like that stuff, check out Ultra Q. It's an amazing show. The OG show is just phenomenal. And again, eventually he went on to do Ultraman. He tried to get away from the kaiju thing, but that was sort of his bread and butter, and he stuck with it. I mean, he did the special effects for the original Godzilla, so he kind of knew what he was doing. And in one of the earlier Ultraman episodes, it's clearly just a repurposed Godzilla suit that he fights. But how did I get into it? Originally, TBS. When I was a kid, we got a satellite dish. It was one of those big honking dishes, not these little dishes. And we had TBS, and I was like, oh my God. And so I'd watch the reruns of Batman, the Adam West Batman. But they also always had the campiest Monster of the Week Godzillas. You know what I'm saying? That 70s, sort of when Godzilla wasn't taken too serious before Toho did the 80s and sort of like relaunched Godzilla. But there was Godzilla of the Week, and I loved it. I just loved it. That's where I got into Kaiju, and I always loved Godzilla and Ultraman and Gamera and anything Kaiju related, anime like Evangelion. I mean, the angels are clearly kaijus. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So there's other anime. I'm forgetting the one that's Ultraman, but they're inside a computer. I forget the name of the freaking show. But I just love kaiju stuff. And I know Robbie says he was never really into it, but he's always been a fan of Power Rangers. Are super, what is it? Super Saiyan? What's what they called? Sentai. And they fight kaiju. Lucky enough, they can, the monster that happens in Ultraman, like, oh, he's regular size. Like, oh, he grew up. Like, luckily, we can get in a fight. And I'm like, what a coincidence. And that sort of became like a big thing in Japan, the big monster thing. Obviously started by Godzilla. So I love anything kaiju related.
You know what? Can you clarify for me? Then like what is kaiju? Because like I looked into it, I see that there's debate. Some people say if it doesn't originate from Japan, or if it doesn't have something to do with Japan, it's not kaiju. Therefore, like King Kong, not kaiju. But
yeah, really, it's a giant monster, and I think what we associate is kaiju is a Japanese word, so it's got to be Japanese. But really, I mean, there are things that could be like Pacific Rim is not a Japanese film. But what they're fighting is clearly kaiju. You know what I'm saying?
Do they have to be the villain? Like, can you be a kaiju hero?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Godzilla's the hero of some films.
Right. Like an anti-hero to a degree.
Yeah. And Gamera is in some of the films. And so you can be, Ultraman. Well, I guess Ultraman is technically not himself a kaiju. Or maybe he is a kaiju. I don't know.
See, I Googled that and I got two different answers.
Yeah. So technically, it's a big monster. So... But you can have good monsters. They definitely do that in the man, what is that show? Now I'm forgetting. Oh man, I have to look it up. I'll do this when you're talking to somebody else.
Okay.
The one that's basically Ultraman, but it's in a computer. It's kind of Tron-ish. And
VR Troopers?
And some of the bad guys at the beginning. So what?
Was it VR Troopers?
Yeah, it's VR Troopers was spawned off that, but yeah, you're in the right direction. So some of the bad guys eventually end up being good guys in like subsequent seasons. They're like, oh, their anger was misplaced or whatever. So I don't know. I guess Ultraman could be a kaiju, and I don't know too. That's the thing too, is that I like the whole Godzilla being good sometimes. But at the same time, some of my favorite Godzilla films, Godzilla is not a good guy.
Yeah, I just from like the handful that I've watched, I prefer him to be taken more straight as the monster, the villain, and when they take the horror approach to him.
Yeah, because it softens them up a lot when you do that, and you have to have a really good villain. But I also like when they like Monsterverse did this well. That some people don't like the Monsterverse, the new Legendary Pictures films, but I do like the fact that he is a good guy. But he also he storms through San Francisco and kills all those people accidentally. Hey, he's also a giant monster. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He's trying to stop these other kaiju, but also there's like casualties. So I like that they okay, he's good, but he's also a giant monster. He can't control where his tail goes.
It's kind of the thing in the original is you've got the one character that's like, oh, he's an animal and we don't want to kill him, but he's destroying Tokyo, so we have to kill him. So it's a cool thing that, from my perspective, runs through the franchise. But Robbie, I'll move on to you because I am curious. I've never heard you really bring up kaiju. I never heard you talk much about Godzilla in general. But what is your fandom of specifically Godzilla in the franchise there? Have you ever been into it? Do you have any favorites? And John, I'll come back to you. I want to know some of your favorites, like recommendations.
Well, I grew up having seen Godzilla films in the video store. We would rent them, we would watch them. There'd be cheesy pizza party nights and things like that, sleepovers. And I don't really recall many of those movies. I remember the characters. I remember Mothra. I remember Ghidorah and all that stuff. Right? I remember the one that looks like an ankylosaurus. I can never remember his name. But I do like Japanese stuff, right? Not just Japanese horror. Like John says, I love Super Sentai. I loved are you talking about Metal Hero series? Something that's set in the Metal Hero series, maybe, John? Because I like that
Gridman. What I was thinking of.
Okay.
So it's basically Ultraman, but you find out later that they're in a simulation. They're in like a computer world. Tron-ish, but he turns a giant robot and he fights kaiju. So it's the same thing. They just changed the world it's set in. And what's really great is that in that world, the kids are really obsessed with Ultraman and read Ultraman manga and stuff like that. So they're aware, what I'm saying? Cool. Very breaking the fourth wall thing.
So I as a kid watched Godzilla, and I remember reading a book one time. I checked out the library. I used to check out every book there was about horror and horror movies from libraries. And there was one, and it just had articles and pictures and stuff from Bela Lugosi's Dracula, Lon Chaney Jr.'s Wolfman, Boris Karloff's Frankenstein. And they had King Kong in there, which made sense to me because I guess, oh, yeah, that's a Universal monster movie. Okay. But then they had Godzilla. And I was like, Godzilla, that's a monster movie. I never really thought about it like that because to me, it was just like dudes in rubber suits beating each other up, right? So the reason why I like Power Rangers. I love it. I love people in crazy ass suits running through cardboard cities, man, for some reason. I don't know why. But I've never got super into it. Now I do remember the first time I watched Gojira. I bought it when they first released it on Criterion DVD. You remember that, John? Back in the early 2000s or something, right? And that was the first time I'd ever seen that version because I'd only ever seen the Americanized version with Raymond Burr. It's a different
where Raymond Burr pretty much takes over the film.
Yeah, but then watching that one and being a little bit older, the haunting nature of that and its place in that historical Japan and what that meant thematically, and it blew me away. It really blew me away. And then me and John did a kaiju podcast, and I tried to blaze through as many kaiju movies as I could to cram for that podcast, but luckily I had a couple experts. So that's up on our website if anybody wants to check it out, popculturephilosophers.com. My initial intent was that I thought I could get through 50 kaiju movies in 1 month, and that did not happen. I think I made it through 10, but anyway, so, and then the American Godzillas, I remember seeing Godzilla 98 in theaters and liking more of the lead up to it. They had a badass soundtrack, had some great Taco Bell tie-ins, but the movie itself didn't really work for me. And then I worked at the theater with John when Godzilla 2000 came out. And I remember being excited to see my first rubber suit Godzilla or whatever in a fucking on a big screen. And I had fun with it, but I didn't think it was a good movie.
Yeah.
And then I remember I watched Final Wars, right? But I still haven't seen some of the newer stuff like Shin Godzilla or whatnot. The American ones, I really don't like those films. I would like cuts where they just take all the humans out of them. So I love the idea of Godzilla. I have a Godzilla toy that's in my set, right? Like, I love Godzilla. I consider him one of the classic monsters up there with Dracula and Frankenstein
Right.
and the Wolfman and the Mummy, right? So I think he's a very important, and I love the original Gojira so much. But it is something like rewatching this one's made me want to like go and watch Shin Godzilla and then watch
Me
a bunch
too.
of other stuff too.
That's the one. Shin Godzilla is the one from 2016 for those that haven't heard of it. That's the one I'm kind of most interested in checking out first after this. It
Now,
looks
my
like it's
favorite when
really
I was a kid,
Yeah.
I think, was the 86 one. Was it 86 when that one came out? John?
Return of Godzilla.
I don't know. It was like, I don't remember.
Yeah.
I just remember, being color. And I
Yeah,
thought
it was a much darker, more serious. That was Toho's return to like, hey, let's not do Monsters of the Week. Let's do a darker film where Godzilla's the bad guy. And that was Godzilla, Return of Godzilla, Godzilla Returns, or whatever. And I think it was called, like, maybe in the States it was retitled like Godzilla 85 or something like that.
Yeah,
But
I think so.
It's fantastic.
I used to think that was the Godzilla movie when I was a kid.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
It's a great movie.
Well, that's what, just like learning more about the franchise is kind of the cool thing about it, is there is, depending on when you grow up or where you start, there's a lot of them that can be the Godzilla movie. And then plus there's a lot of different tones. You've got the horror kind of bookend with Godzilla. Not that Godzilla Minus One is more horror, but the more serious with Godzilla Minus One and the original. You've got big dumb fun in the form of men in giant rubber suits, and then you've got CGI big dumb fun. So there's a little bit of something for everybody, and there's kind of social commentary sprinkled throughout every movie that I watched, even the ones that are a little bit more silly. They're always talking about the Japanese government, and there's always some kind of political commentary, even in the silly ones. What up to my brother Fable in the house? Chill, Inja. Appreciate you guys stopping in. Robbie, do you have more? You want me to send it to my man Missing Link?
Let's send it to Stephanopoulos.
Hey, I was gonna say, I liked your effort at it. Stephanopoulos is the correct pronunciation. But Missing Link, my brother, what's your history with the monster and kaiju in general?
I'm it's a little sporadic. I've seen the first one, Godzilla versus Kong, the OG one. My cousin was really into it when we were younger, so I was kind of into it for a minute, but only like I would watch it when I went to his house for like Christmas break and shit. Thought some of the toys were kind of cool. I mean, I posted these before, but I've got like this and like.
See, that's one thing I'm like honestly like excited about now that I'm like becoming a Godzilla fan. Is like, oh, I'm gonna buy some merch. Like I seriously got like excited last night when I realized like, oh yeah, there's so much of it. I want a Godzilla, at least one. But hell yeah.
But no, I'm very sporadic. Like I've seen a couple of the OGs. Like Robbie said earlier, I think I remember the characters more than I remember the actual plots of the movie. I do remember the 98 one. I remember enjoying that one as a kid. The Matthew.
I know. One. That's I told you before. I hear nothing but people talking shit about that. But I remember when I was 14 thinking it was awesome. Sitting there eating my Nacho Bel Grande. Fuck it.
See, I was 17 at this big start of Snobby Robbie, and I'd be like, they turned into a fucking love story? What are they doing?
I don't think I'd probably ever seen Godzilla other than little clips up to like you said, John, like TBS. It felt like it was always on TV.
It was on there a lot.
Yeah. And the images that you saw, it was never Gojira. It was always the Showa era, like daylight Godzilla. That's like when I watch some of those, I'm like, oh, this is what I remember. Those images where they're always lit.
Yeah, and like crazy kicks and fights that are like just like so over the top. And I'm like, what? But this was also during a period where Toho would release those films theatrically with other films as a double feature because nobody was going to go see those Godzilla films on their own.
Oh, really?
That's how low the sales numbers were for those for that Godzilla era at the time. And now look at what it's, when Toho started taking it more serious is when I think when it blew back up.
Well, dude, I cannot believe I'm ignorant to it. I'm less like plugged into current pop culture than a lot of people. I know they're making Godzilla movies. I know that they seem to be pretty big. When I looked at the numbers, holy shit. These are like the biggest movies in the world right now. King Kong, Godzilla are the two biggest things happening on the planet now that the MCU has kind of dwindled out. They made like $500-600 million on the last one.
And the last one was not very good.
Yeah.
We won't get into that. Maybe my issue was I came from -1 and then I had high expectations.
Right.
And the MonsterVerse was never going to meet those expectations, but -1 is so incredibly done, so incredibly well. But Don't sleep on Shin Godzilla, because Shin Godzilla
Yeah.
is amazing, but it's also very dark and very effed up. If you enjoy Evangelion, you will like Shin Godzilla because it's the same dude that did it.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that like I said, that's the one I really want to watch. It's not you had to go I had to go somewhere certain to find. Oh, Fandango. It's not on Amazon Prime. It's not streaming anywhere, but you can find it on Fandango. Steph, did you have more you wanted to say?
If I can get my mic off mute. No, I was just I've seen the legendary ones. I kind of, those are movies I don't not like them, but I don't enjoy them. Like I will watch them when they come out, but they're like movies I kind of wait for, so I can just kind of fast forward to like the battle scenes and shit, like fight scenes.
I'm completely with you. This is my experience going through them. There's only, like I said, I watched about 7 of them, so I'm an expert now. And the only ones that I really like loved are the first one and Minus One. Everything else in the middle, I enjoyed in the way that I enjoy like a Friday the 13th movie. You know what I mean? Where like it's like, oh, Jason's on screen. Fuck yeah, this is great. And as soon as he's off screen, it's like, yeah, whatever. Like there's not that much interest in me in the plots or the characters.
You don't have sex to pump up the Godzilla
that is
movie,
true.
Right?
Godzilla's got those titties in Minus One. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but there was that.
Yeah, I'm really excited now to hear your opinion about Shin Godzilla. If you once you watch that, hit me up because I want to hear what you think.
Oh, definitely. Fuck, I'll probably cover it if you want to come back. I know you don't like to be on camera that much, but you're more than welcome.
For Shin Godzilla, I might do it.
I will say, here's what I did. I watched Gojira, like I said, I loved it. I watched Destroy All Monsters, which came out in '69. And from word on the street, what I know, it was like the Godzilla universe was dwindling, and they're like, fuck it, let's just do one more, get all the suits we have and put them in this movie. Fuck it. And then it blew up and people loved it. Like, oh, well, that's what we'll do. But like that one, I highly recommend if you just want to see what early, men in rubber suits beating the shit out of each other was like. That's kind of like, would you agree, John? That's a good early one to check out. That has tons of monsters.
Because it's got every kaiju you can imagine. You know what I'm saying? Well, Toho owned. That's a great film. I love that film, especially for the OG Godzilla stuff.
Yeah, I remember liking that one a lot too, just because it's the reason why we like the Justice League, because it's got all of them in it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, and plus like the plots of some of these, it's like, I don't know why. I should have realized ahead of time like how sci-fi they were going to get. It's like there's space aliens also. If I'm not mixing up movies, I'm pretty sure there's space aliens like causing all the problem with the kaiju on the planet. It's like, okay, that's what this franchise is about. But there's like space aliens in like 3 or 4 of them that I watched.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like there's any set rules, and like, okay, there's aliens causing fighting. Okay, there's a space Godzilla. Like, oh, so just like they're throwing shit, almost like Gremlins 2. Let's just see what sticks, guys. Just put everything. So it does seem like there's some hard and fast rules in the initial Godzilla films, but eventually they're just like,
right,
do whatever you want. And I think a lot of it has to do with them changing directors and creative teams throughout the years. And some people just had some ideas, especially I like the fact that as it went on, I think Toho was willing to take a chance on the franchise. If you look at like Singular Point, the anime, or Shin Godzilla, these are completely, vastly different takes on Godzilla.
Right.
But they're still enjoyable takes. And so I like the fact that Toho took risk.
Right. Hell yeah. The last thing I want to say, and then we'll dive into a little bit of this Kaiju trivia, is as far as the MonsterVerse is concerned, here's the best way that I can describe how I feel about the MonsterVerse. What up, Stu, you big sexy son of a bitch? I'm like, okay, I'm gonna watch these movies. People seem to love them. I'm sure they're big dumb fun. Let me check them out. And I put on Godzilla 2014. I'm like, okay, Breaking Bad guy. I think I watched the start of this. Then I watched. I'm like, I watched this whole fucking thing. I didn't remember any of it. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna throw on Kong vs. Godzilla. I go to my Max and I see that I'm halfway through it and I didn't finish it. So it's like, you know what I mean? And then I did finish it, and it's, they're entertaining. If you've got 2.5 hours to kill, they'll do that for you. But I didn't find anything special out of any of the 3 that I watched, but they did look cool at times.
I think they really. 2014, I think, tries to capture OG Godzilla. It tries, it fails, it tries. And then as those movies progress, the MonsterVerse, they become like Showa era Godzilla. You know what I'm saying? Like what people want is all these. I'm like, actually, you were doing a good job.
Right.
One of the big complaints about 2014 is there wasn't enough Godzilla to focus on the people. So then you got King of the Monsters, and it was all people are like, oh, there's no plot. It's just monsters fighting. I'm like, what? Nobody's happy. I actually like King of the Monsters. And Godzilla versus Kong. I like the beginning when they have the fight in the water. It's spectacular.
Yeah.
But then it kind of jumps the ship. Ha. But I like that, especially when, you see Godzilla come out of the water and and Godzilla's like, I'll just drown this big ass monkey. I'm like, oh, smart. Oh, good idea. So there's things the MonsterVerse I do like. And I do like the fact too, that after 98 Godzilla, which was TriStar, Toho realized they need to keep closer control over Godzilla. So these new MonsterVerse films aren't Toho, but Toho is involved and does supervise the films. They have people on set and say, oh, you can't do this, you're allowed to do this. So they're very hands-on to an extent. So I think that's why we didn't get 98 Godzilla. I know they're not perfect. I do enjoy them. I do highly recommend Monarch, though, because I thought Monarch was pretty good.
That's the
show, the series,
TV show,
Legacy of Monsters. Yeah. Now, it's hit or miss, too, because they keep jumping back in time to like the creation of Monarch and then like current time. The current time kids are most annoying Scooby-Doo kids you've ever seen. But when they go back in time and they deal with like Wyatt Russell and the creation of Monarch, it's amazing. When they do the OG stuff, the show is really good and it's firing on all cylinders. But the current stuff, the only thing that really good came from the current stuff is Anna Saiwai. I think her role in Monarch got her the role in Shogun, and Shogun is phenomenal if you haven't seen it.
Oh, hell yeah. No, I haven't, but I've heard a lot about it. And the dude that was in the original Ring is like the lead in that. We were just talking about him a few days ago.
He's phenomenal actor.
All right. Kick ass. I am excited, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, for a little segment I like to call, I didn't think of a name of it. Name that kaiju. Who do kaiju? You do kaiju? There you go. That's the name of the segment. All right. So what we're going to do, and if I may have made too many slides, so we'll keep a brisk pace going through here. We've pretty much established, John, kaiju stuff. Robbie, Link, me, we don't really. So what we're doing is John versus Rockin' Robbie Billups and Missing Link, and we're gonna go through these slides. I'm gonna show you a kaiju monster. You tell me the name of the monster. Some of these might be Godzilla or maybe King Kong, and that's so obvious that what I need there. If you want full extra credit points, give me the year, give me the movie, right? But all I really need is any kind of description of the movie. So say that's Godzilla, the one, blah, blah, blah. That's King Kong, blah, blah, blah. If it's an accurate description, that's all I need. You don't have to know the year, but bonus, no points if you do. And the other thing I'm going to do, if Rockin' Robbie and Steph miss a question, John then gets to answer that question. If he answers that question and gets it right, that was his question for the round. You guys get the next question. It seems weird, but I've thought this through. The reason I'm doing that is because there's some that are fucking easy enough. I don't want John to get all of those. That will help us shift some of the easier ones towards our Rockin' Robbie Link.
So you're grading on a curve.
We're grading on a curve here. That's exactly what we're doing. Oh, I meant to keep score. I will fuck it up if I keep score. But God damn it. I need a paper and pen. Oh no!
How prepared Verno is.
I know. Well, I just rearranged my room so I don't have any of my shit where it was. Oh no, guys. Oh, here it is. We got this, baby. And forgive me for my preparation, even though I did take probably like 4 fucking hours putting these slides together. So don't mention that part. All right. So it's just team 1 and team 2. But if you guys have seen me try and score before and remember it, just realize I'm probably going to fuck this up while we're doing it. So that's okay.
Keep up with your own score, John, is what he's saying.
All right. Let us begin. And actually, this is the first slide, and we're going to begin with Robbie and Link. Either one of you gets to shout it out. The one I'm looking for is the guy in the middle. Who is the kaiju in the middle?
I mean, that's Mecha Godzilla, right?
Let's find out. Let's all find out together.
Do you want to agree with we both have to agree, right?
Yeah, just either that or just one he has to say it with confidence, and then we'll keep it rolling.
I agree.
Boom. Okay. Mecha Godzilla. We got one. By the way, you guys are Team Godzilla, Robbie and Link. John, you are John. Because you guys are big. You guys are big and he's small. You get it? All right. John, who's that? What movie?
I'm gonna say, well, it's definitely King Kong, but I want to say, is it Skull Island?
Is that your final answer?
Oh man, might be older than that. It might be King Kong, the Peter Jackson King Kong.
Now, would you have got that if I didn't say, is that your final answer?
No, it took me a minute. Yeah. He looks too old. Now that you said that, he looks too old to be, because he was young in Skull Island.
Right. I'm going to
Which is phenomenal, by the way. Monsterverse wise, Skull Island hits above its weight. And if you've seen it in 3D, it's phenomenal. Watch it in 3D.
Hell yeah. That is the one that I hear most people say good things about. Team Godzilla. Who is this?
Well, this is King Ghidorah, right? Isn't that his name?
That's his name.
Yeah, that's
baby.
his name.
King Ghidorah, the three-headed monster. Boom. The 2-1 King Kong versus John. John, who's that?
Man.
I'm having fun already. You guys down in the chat
too. Deviant from the Eternals, man.
Is it Ibira? It kind of looks like Ibira, but is it not from the King? Is it from the Godzilla universe? Is it from a different Kaiju universe?
There will be no hints this round.
So it looks like Ibira, but it might be. Yeah.
You got the movie? It's not I don't know the name, to be honest with you. I know the movie that it's from.
It looks like Ibira, and I think it's probably from I'm assuming it's from King of the Monsters.
Incorrect. Team Godzilla, do we have an answer?
Is it from Monarch Legacy of Monsters?
Negative. Robbie?
Oh fuck.
Pacific Rim?
Yes,
it's Pacific Rim.
Team Godzilla. I don't think it's a Godzilla monster. Damn it.
Team Godzilla comes through. Dynamite. What's up? What's happening, brother? Thanks for being here. All right, we move on. Dun, 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 dun. I'm sorry. Who we are on? Robbie, you guys answered it. So, John, who is this?
How do you pronounce his name? Is that
just get
Angarus
close.
or Angarus? How do you say his name?
Angarus.
Angarus. I don't know the correct pronunciation, but he's the one that most looks like a dude just squatting down in a costume.
It's like
This is the first monster that Godzilla ever fights that you see in the movie.
The second one, right? Like, was it Revenge of Godzilla or something like that?
The Godzilla raids again.
Okay.
John, who's this? Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. Team Godzilla. Who's this?
This is Rodan, right?
That's Rodan. Yeah. You guys are doing pretty good. It's 4-2, John. I might have made this a little too lopsided. We'll find out. Let's continue. John, who's that?
Is this Clifford, the big red dog?
Clifford, the big red dog.
Wait, is there a live action Clifford?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Clifford definitely would be Kaiju.
Right.
For sure.
I didn't put that Asian kid in there. He just happens to be an Asian kid. And the first picture I saw, I'm like, hey, I'm putting it in. Clifford the big red dog.
I didn't know there was a live action Clifford.
All right. Team Godzilla. Who is this?
Link, do you have any clue?
I'm like thinking of something from Final Fantasy, to be honest. Like Bahamut or some shit, but it's
Robbie, anything?
Something that starts with a G.
Incorrect. John, you know who that is?
Destroyer.
Yes. Now look, the way
it looks like Destroyer.
The way it's pronounced is like if
it's like Destroyer.
They're trying to get me canceled because if I pronounce it, listen, Destroyer. It's like, come on, now they got me doing it. They've like put the Japanese accent.
Yeah, it sounds like a very Japanese word for destroy. It sounds though like a really great name for a metal band.
Yeah,
and there might be a metal band with that name. In fact.
All right, we are Ingenue Clifford. We are tied up 4-4. This one, I guess that's what I'm doing. Whoever got the last one will go to the other team. So this one for Team Godzilla. Who's this? Link.
This is
It's
98 Godzilla, right? Would you say? Yeah.
Yeah.
Booyah. That is
I know.
indeed the Taco Bell sponsored.
They brought us the Gorditas, man.
Did it? Is that where it originated? All right.
Yeah, if there was a tie-in.
Which Toho, by the way, calls Zilla. They removed the god because he wasn't a
really?
god in the film. So
And then in
he
Final
calls him
Wars,
and
Godzilla kills Zilla.
yeah, kills Zilla. Just not
That's funny. John, who is this kaiju?
The queen of the monsters, Mothra, with an egg that's probably a larva to be the next Mothra.
I love this image. It's just so cool. I think Mothra is like so like cool.
Dude, I love the wings. Mothra is probably one of my favorites, man. I love Mothra.
She's super cool. And I was gonna say like ahead of time, like I feel like if you were watching this and you are into kaiju and you're like Asian, this is almost like if we're like testing people on who the Avengers are. Like I bet like Mothra's like that, you know what I mean? Like who's Spider-Man? Like I don't know, Robbie, you know this one? But all right, so that one, Team John, are we tied up now? Fuck. I might have just screwed it up and not given you a point. I think we're tied at 5-5, unless I just ripped you off one. Let's say it's 5-5. Robbie, Steph, you guys know who this is? The silliest looking of the kaiju.
So, Steph, I always want to say like Godzuki or whatever, but I think it's actually wrong. I don't know if it's Godzuki. I think it's something close to that, but not actually that. Do you know?
I was gonna say, baby. I know Godzuki from the cartoon. I'm comfortable with Godzuki.
That's the best we got. That's the best we got.
John?
That means
I thought it was just called Junior or something. I thought Godzuki was the one from the cartoon, so I thought he was called. Man, was he just called? He wasn't called Baby Godzilla. What was he actually called? Because he Manila. God damn it! Thank you. Because he haunts my nightmares. He haunts my nightmares. He's weird looking as fuck.
He's like HBO Max, which, by the way, if you want to dig into some of these kaiju, like especially the Godzilla universe, Max has so much of it. But they've always had his big dumb image on the thumbnail for Destroy All Monsters, which has always kept me from clicking on it. It's so silly looking.
It kind of reminds me of like the dinosaurs. Or like the
show.
Not the mama.
Yeah. He looks a lot like,
Totally. All right. Yeah, he's probably not the mama baby. It was probably based on this silly looking guy. So I think since nobody got that, John, this one goes to you. Who is that?
Is that the monster from Cloverfield?
That is that monster from Cloverfield. 6-5.
Yo, I think that monster in the first 2014 legendary movie kind of looked like the Cloverfield monster a little bit.
Oh, okay. I never saw that. Oh, are you talking about the Muto? Yeah, I know that was a pretty cool monster, I thought.
I liked them for original designs. I thought they were really cool. And I love when Godzilla opens the mouth and just shoots right into the mouth and just dude, badass.
Okay, this one is on Team Godzilla. Who is this? Kaiju. It's gonna be a tricky one.
You're spoiling the film.
Am I spoiling film? Spoiler alert, everybody.
Link, what the fuck is this?
I'm trying to decipher that right now. Evangelion?
No.
No.
I don't think you guys are gonna. I don't think you guys are gonna know it.
Is it?
Rob, you got a guess? No. Mr. Billups?
No, I have fucking no clue, man.
John?
This is a big spoiler, but this is Shin Godzilla.
This is
and by the director of Evangelion.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Okay,
but unfortunately, that's a big spoiler.
Well,
so
here's what I know about.
You saw this.
Here's what I know about Shin. Here's what I know about Shin Godzilla. Like the Godzilla mutates, and he's got 5 different forms, and this is his 5th form of mutation. That's
fuck. I didn't know that.
Now you know. Now you know.
Yeah,
Sorry.
the movie is terrifying, but I will warn you. Even though it's terrifying, it's a great movie. 50% of the movie is them in like a boardroom discussing what to do on actions of Godzilla. So 50% of the movie,
that's every movie.
Great on the first time, but when you rewatch it, those boardroom scenes become so boring.
All of these movies have those boardroom scenes, I feel like, and they kind of suck for that. The ones I've seen. Team Godzilla.
This is the King Kong movie from the 70s.
It is, and that's really all I need. Do you know who? Bridges, I don't think this is. I think they used a mixture of man in a rubber suit and animatronics, But does anybody know who the man in the rubber suit was for bonus no points? Rick Baker.
Oh, that makes
shit.
sense.
Now you know. Now you know. We're at 6. Team Godzilla has 6. John, you have 7. And this is your next slide. Who's this goofy looking little motherfucker?
What the fuck is this?
Any
Oh,
ideas?
man.
Keep fine.
I think he's from Ultra Q. What is the dude's name? Is he not from Ultra Q?
He's from Ultraman. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, he's from Ultraman.
Well, you
He
know
was
what?
from the Ultra.
I could be fucking wrong, but I think he's from Ultraman.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
yeah. I thought he was from Ultra Q, but I can't remember. I can't remember the dude's name. Maybe he is from Ultraman. I know he's from the Ultra universe, but I can't remember. I can't remember the dude's name.
Anybody have a guess over on Team Godzilla?
He does look like a Power Rangers villain.
He looks so stupid. That's why I put him in here. No?
No, I ain't got it.
All right. That's Pigmon. He's a
Oh,
friendly little kaiju from the Ultraman.
Oh, he's
universe.
friendly, yeah.
He's friendly. Yeah, he looks it. Kind of with a frown. All right. This one for Team Godzilla. You guys are behind by 1 point. What movie is this?
Robbie, they're on the boat, right? This is fuck, what's it called?
The boat.
They like find that shipper in the middle of the ocean. That it's like a ship, and it's like got all the I forget the name of the movie. Oh my god, they're on like jet skis at the end.
I don't know if I know the movie you're talking about, but this is the one I want as a stuffed animal.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm on the right track, right, Verno?
What's that? You know what? I don't know. I remember seeing this movie back in the day. It is an American film,
Like,
but I can't remember the details on it. You hear about this movie. It's one of those.
I think. Fuck.
Is it Deep Rising?
Deep Rising,
Oh.
yes.
To be honest with you, I gotta fucking check. I think it is. I think it's Deep Rising. I got John. Do you know anything?
wasn't Deep? I don't know. Isn't Deep Rising too old for that? It looks like
No.
CG. I think Deep Rising
That's-
is.
No,
old.
I think you'd be surprised.
That's like
Here,
mid '90s.
let's just go ahead. I
Yeah.
wasn't
Oh, it is Deep
100%.
Rising.
It's Deep Rising. So we are tied up.
Yeah.
7-7.
Good one, Robbie. Good
All
one.
right, let's keep it rolling. I probably made too many slides. Let's just keep this rolling. John, you know who that is?
What's his name? It's like Hedor or something like
Bam!
that.
You nailed it. I think. Look, that's so funny how many of these.
Or
I know.
Hebora or something like that. Hedora. I got it
Hedora.
right the first
nailed
time.
it.
Damn it.
No, you nailed it. That's your point.
Yeah.
All right. John's up 8-7. Team Godzilla. Who's this? What's the movie? I love this image so much.
Well, this is the OG King Kong, right?
Bum, 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 bum.
Yep.
All right, we are
Starring
tied
Fay
up
Wray.
8-8. Isn't that just such a crazy looking image, man? So fucking iconic. All right, Team John. Who is this silly looking dude?
Is it Gigan?
It's Gigan. Yeah, he's in. He's like a 70s one. He's a cool looking guy. I really like him. The movie that Gigan versus Godzilla is another one that I watched. That was a lot of fun. So that is 9-8. John, Team Godzilla. Who is this?
Is this from? Is Link? Is this like from Stranger Things? Right? Is this the Demigorgon or a version of the Demigorgon?
No.
No.
It does look
Not the
like
host.
one. It's not the what?
The host.
That might be the host. No.
No, it's the mouth. That does give me like Demigorgon vibes, but it's not Cloverfield.
I think it's the host if you don't have something over
You want
that.
to go with that?
If Steph's cool with it.
Yeah.
Oh,
shit.
that would have been terrible. We just
I
covered this shit.
I
man.
spent a lot of time looking for an image that you would throw you off on the host because I'm like, oh, I didn't know there was a vagina in the host.
What?
All right, John. I love this one. It's so fucking cool looking. Who's this? Do you know his name or her name? I don't know.
Man, was there a giant? Kumonga or whatever. Is that from the
Jesus.
I love that. It's such a cool looking one. Like when that thing is moving.
I try to
how did
remember
they
a
do
spider
that?
because it seemed like there'd be more spiders because
Right.
spiders inherently are creepy as fuck. So just making a spider kaiju works because there's spider kaiju films of their own. You know what I'm saying, with giant spiders.
I was gonna say, I wonder if it's just like hard to fucking do, hard to move those things around. Like it's insane.
Oh yeah, that's valid. To give it realistic, yeah.
Team Godzilla, you guys are down 1 point. Do you know who this is? I believe this is the same guy, 3 versions of him.
Steph, I don't fucking know shit about what this is. You don't?
John?
Mothman.
That's a good fucking guess, bro. That's a great guess. John, you have any idea who this is? Or anybody?
I'll be honest with you, I don't.
All right. I think this is an Ultraman villain. I meant to write it down. Zeton supposedly showed up in the last episode of the first series, I think, of Ultraman, and then became a recurring character afterwards. So this one is back to John. John, you ever seen this guy? Do you know the movie?
This would be the Godzilla specifically from Godzilla versus Kong when they're fighting in Shanghai.
Boom. Nailed it. All right. John is now up 11-9. Team Godzilla, we got to catch up. We are looking for the creature on the far left. His name.
The small one's Manila.
The small one's Manila.
I'm not even sure.
This is an easy one. Come on, guys. This is an easy one.
King Destroyer.
No, a good guess too. Robbie, any idea?
Nope.
John?
You know, nothing's cooler than taking original monster and putting space in front of it. So it's Space Godzilla.
God damn.
Hell yeah. Space Godzilla. All right. So per the rules, this one goes back to Team Godzilla. Do you guys happen to know this guy? I might have added some of the trickier ones towards the end.
This is Gamera.
Bam, my brother. All right. So we got 10-12. Team Godzilla down by 2. John, who is this guy? This guy is like so iconic to me, but I wouldn't have known who he was until looking him up.
Oh, really?
But
Jet Jaguar is one of my favorite characters, man. I love Jet Jaguar.
Jet Jaguar. I didn't even know. I didn't know the jet part. What up, Two Gun? Thanks for popping in, my brother. Pew to the pew. Yeah, he's just like I see him all the time. What universe?
Yeah, he really was.
He's a Godzilla villain.
He's Godzilla. No, he's a good guy. He fights along.
Oh,
well, it depends if Godzilla's good or not. But he was a cyborg created to fight along Godzilla, and he definitely was inspired by Ultraman, who's a person and not a robot. But Jaguars.
Oh, okay, yeah, he's cool looking. I've always thought he was cool. All right, I know you guys aren't gonna know this. Robbie, Link, do you guys have a guess of who this is?
I love how he's like, I know you guys are not going to know who this is.
Well,
he's got so much faith in you guys.
Link's got it. Shin Godzilla. He took the context clues.
Nice.
Good job. Way to pick up. I said there was 5 forms of Shin Godzilla, and I bet you picked up it just from the color scheme too. But hell yeah, you guys needed that. It is 11-13. John, we're running out of slides here. Who is? I'm looking for the name of the person on the far right.
Oh God.
You're like, yeah, I knew the other ones. Who's that guy? He's fucking cool looking.
Oh man. Yeah, the other 3 I got. What's this dude's name? He's a fly. He's basically he's Godzilla and a fly combined, basically. What is the dude's name? I don't remember, to be perfectly honest with you.
Team Godzilla. Does anybody have a guess?
Yeah, it's not Megalon, is it?
It's fucking Megalon. You got it. You got it, man.
Sorry, guys.
No. All right, we're winding down. We just got a couple left. This guy is so fucking cool looking to me. He's so like stupid looking and cool looking, which I could say for but like this whole franchise, I think. But Team Godzilla, you have any idea who this guy is?
The Michelin Man.
Oh, it's a great guess.
Brock Dagon.
Negative. John, do you happen to know who he is?
Sorry. He's from Ultraman, isn't he? Red King?
Red King from Ultraman. Yes.
Him I recognize. There's like 3 very iconic bad guys from Ultraman. And finally one came up because I didn't recognize the other ones.
I think this is the last. We might have 1 or 2 more after this. Team Godzilla, And again, I think I searched specifically for more for trickier ones to find, so I put them at the very end.
I would say it's either Party Godzilla or Shin Godzilla.
Super Saiyan Manila.
Hammer time.
He looks like if you were Godzilla from Wish.
I
don't know.
He is Gabara from
he's from
All Monsters Attack. And then this one, just for funsies, you know what actually will be fun? Team Godzilla. Now that we've named a handful of these, how many of these can you guys name? And if you get what are we at? You guys are down by 4. If you get over half of them, then you win. No, not really. But just let's see how many you get for fun.
Well, there's Manila.
There's Manila.
There's Godzilla.
There's Godzilla.
There's Ghidorah.
Mm-hmm.
There's what is it again? Anglion, something like that.
The crawling one.
I'll give it to you. Aguirus, I think is how
Aguirus.
we pronounce it.
My bad. He's like an Ankylosaurus, right?
It's fucked up because we just
much.
did the spider one, and
I know.
There's Mothra. I finally see Mothra. Yeah, the spider one.
No.
Whose name was like M something.
Any more?
Well, obviously the serpent from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, right there.
John, you want to finish it off?
The serpent is Manda.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see who else. It's a Kumonga, or whatever is the big spider. I can't remember the T-Rex dude's name. You said, Robbie, you realized that you saw Mothra's like larva down there, right? You saw that. That's what you said, Mothra.
It took me a long time to figure out what the fuck that larva was, but yeah, that's Mothra's larva.
But he said Mothra, so maybe he already saw. And
then was Mothra not up there above the T-Rex dude and above the spider?
No, that's the Rodan.
Oh, that's Rodan. Yeah. Shit.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I did say Mothra though.
But you did say Mothra, so I figured that's what you were talking about. But that's Mothra. Mothra usually appears a lot of times. Will start off is the larva, or
the larva.
Have the larva like show up later on as like Mothra is like kids to fight her battle or whatever. So, yeah, I think that's all. I don't recognize.
There's this little flying guy in the back who took me a long time to figure out who the fuck that was. You guys,
I can't even tell. It's so blurry. I can't tell what the hell.
Yeah, it's like the best image I could get. There is the key to this thing. Varan is a little guy flying in the back. It took me like 20 minutes to figure out who he was last night.
I couldn't even tell you who that was. Oh, Baragon. That's the one I was struggling with. I couldn't tell what Varan was from the picture, to be honest with you, because it's so tiny.
Hell yeah.
I thought that was a dude falling, like on fire, is what I thought it was.
This is a picture of my dog I took a couple days ago. That
looks like a kaiju.
That's a pretty great photo.
Thank you. All right. Well, that concludes our segment of Kaiju Trivia. I appreciate it, man. You guys were all fantastic. John is the official winner, 15-11. Congratulations. So
just for the record, like 8 of those pictures were Shin Godzilla. So you guys had it easy.
All right, so let us dive in now to Godzilla Minus One. Whoa, that faded out for longer than I was expecting it to. All right, so this movie, Godzilla Minus One, came out in Japan in 2023, in the States at the very beginning of 2024. I just had the director's name. John, do you happen to know it off the top of your head?
It's I don't know off the top of my head, but I'll pull it up. It is Takashi Yamazaki, who also did the Godzilla ride. Godzilla.
Oh yeah, like the year before for the like the actual ride you're talking about.
Yeah, the ride. He did the designs in the movie and everything for the theme park, and that was when Toho was like, "This is our dude." That's why he got to do Minus One.
For some reason, I thought I had heard like he was some smaller director, but he's like one of Japan's big directors that they went out and sought out to write and direct this film. He does the CG too. He's also like
he's a visual effects pro. Yeah,
that's so crazy to be doing all 3 of those. But one thing interesting, just kind of doing the research that I found out about the movie is they had written it before COVID and they were ready to go. I don't know if they were ready to go into production, but they had written it before COVID. And then they had all of a sudden an extra 3 years before they could film it. So he wrote the shit out of the movie. And it could change almost completely from where it was then to where it is now. And to me, I mean, there's a lot of things that are super impressive about the film, but that is one of the key things. It's like so well written. It's so clean of a story. It's like there's no fluff, but there's enough complication to keep it like feeling like a blockbuster. It has all the twists and turns that you need, but it's never messy. It never gets bogged down in either the action or the melodrama or anything. It's just like if John Carpenter directed a blockbuster. There's no fluff. It's just like straightforward, all the stuff that you need and nothing else. But we spent a lot of time on all those other things, and I feel like I've spoken enough. So let's just go around, just do our overall thoughts on the film. Starting with you, John. What did you think? Godzilla Minus One. You guys in the chat too. What did you think of it?
I was lucky enough to see it in the theaters, and it did come out. It did come out last year in the theaters, by the way, and American theaters.
Oh,
yeah, it just came out a month after the Japanese release, and I thought it was phenomenal. I mean, I enjoyed it. It was some of the Godzilla films I go in and I enjoy, and they're fun films. But a lot of times you don't walk away caring about the characters themselves. You go in for Godzilla, and there's not a lot of character detail, or you just don't care about the people, and that's okay. You don't have to. You could still enjoy the Godzilla films. This is not one of those films. You deeply care for these people. You know what I'm saying? You're rooting for these people. I thought it was done exceptionally well. Visually, it's spectacular. The music's fantastic. The use of the OG Godzilla theme, not a ton of it, but when it's there, it works so well. And visually, I mean, and how not to like, the main actor does a great job. I was really excited when they announced that Minami Hamabe, who is in Shin Kamen Rider, when they said she was going to be in it, I'm like, oh yes. So I was so excited, and she does a great job as Noriko, and it's just so phenomenally and so well put together. And you're right, it doesn't waste. There's never a piece where like, oh, well, they could trim this film.
right.
No way, man. Everything has purpose in the film, and it's just an incredible film. And I think even for people that don't care about Godzilla, don't sleep on this film. Go and see this film because it's phenomenal, even if it wasn't tied to Godzilla or wasn't a Godzilla franchise film.
That's one thing. I almost wish there wasn't all these big blockbuster Godzillas going on that people were like, oh, I'm not into that shit. And it's going to get lumped in with that. And that there's going to be a lot of people that miss out on this movie because of that.
Yeah, and Toho did try to space out their films from the MonsterVerse.
I think they had to. They couldn't release them in the same year.
Yeah, they tried to space them out, but they still ended up, probably because of COVID or whatever, they still ended up getting released rather close together. And I feel like a lot of people, I'm just surprised a lot of people who were said, oh, you know what, this is, told me, oh, you're a Godzilla fan, did you see the Minus Ones on Netflix? I'm like, well, I saw it in theaters, I have it on Blu-ray, but do watch it. It's phenomenal. I can't be mad because I want, anyway, Amazon, more people get to see this, the better, because it's done so well. And I think Toho is very proud of the film.
Right. I mean, as well they should be. Before I send it to you, Robbie, to me, as I said, as a novice, is this like, I don't know if like best is right. Is there ever been a Godzilla film besides the original that like was taken as seriously as this one, and that like just has the characters that this one does? Is there anyone that's comparable?
I would say Shin Godzilla. It definitely is, because I think if you look at like the Return of Godzilla from '84, they tried to, but at the same time, there's the whole thing with the guys on the ship who were supposed to stop Godzilla, and that feels kind of like almost like Showa era. And they tried. They've made attempts to go back to do a more serious at times, and so I think Shin Godzilla definitely does that, and Shin Godzilla gets a lot of praise. But I enjoyed Minus One because the human aspect, I liked those people more, because I like the people in Shin Godzilla, but I found myself really rooting for Shikishima and Noriko and their adopted daughter, whatever you call it is. You're rooting for that group, and you know what I'm saying, more so than most of the Godzilla films I've seen. So the human aspect, I think you root for them more than I think any other film. And again, there's been some Godzilla films where you side with the human character, or you have compassion or empathy for this person, but not a lot. Some of those you just despise the people like, oh, I hope Godzilla steps on this person.
Yeah, hell yeah. Well said, dude. Mr. Rockin' Robbie Billows, my brother. I want to hear it. What did you think, Godzilla Minus One?
I thought it was spectacular. I thought it was amazing. Everybody was talking about it last year as one of the greatest films of the year, right? And then when I was putting down my list, I was like, well, I haven't seen that one yet. To me, it's Oppenheimer, but I would put this just under Oppenheimer.
The prequel.
Yeah, right. But I would watch it. I would put it just under Oppenheimer as my favorite of the year last year. I love that it goes back to a more serious tone. A really great human story that like John said, you root for those characters. At the end of the film, when I see that parachute open up, I cheer, man.
Yeah.
Like I got so wrapped up in the emotional aspect of the story and the weight and the gravity of post-war Japan when they considered themselves at the lowest. There was like nothing left. They were zero. Thus they're -1 when Godzilla shows up, right? I loved the special effects. I loved all of those human characters. You're talking about the family and you're rooting for them, but I'm also rooting for his homies on the ship, right? Some really intense sequences. The music, John, you're right. It's nice and it's driving, but it has that old school menacing, foreboding, stomping, bomb, bomb, bomb kind of thing, right? That just absolutely rocks. I thought the movie was masterful. I thought it was damn good. And I mean, it gave me vibes of what it was like when I watched Gojira for the first time on Criterion DVD and didn't even realize how serious that movie was going to be. And
right,
-1 freaking rocks. And Godzilla's never been scarier to me than in this movie.
Hell yeah.
Are you going to rewatch it when it gets released in black and white?
Yes, I want to see the black and white one for certain.
Yeah, me too. I really like oh yeah, you did say it's going to Netflix. I'm dying to see that. You just made me think of something that I wanted to say that probably is obvious to most people about Godzilla. But I don't know if I'd ever, because I didn't watch the original as a kid and I wasn't like really into Godzilla. And now that I'm an adult and I watched it, I never realized how Godzilla basically is an atomic bomb. I never understood like the connection there. Like, oh, what's Godzilla do? He destroys cities, and then afterwards there's radiation and you can't go there. It's like, fuck. Well, it's like such a clear parallel, but like what that does is make you have to take his story so much more seriously. And like -1 plays with that in such a powerful way where they said it, where they said it, and when they said it. So all this big blockbuster drama becomes so much more real because of the setting and the death, the real life death, really, if it boils down to it, that's behind the movie, But Steph, my brother from another, did you just watch this for this week, or had you watched it? Did you watch it right when it came out? I know you're out there sailing the high seas, pirating. Did you watch it before or no?
I couldn't find a good copy, and I for this one, since it seemed like such a visual spectacle, I wanted to wait for a really good copy, and so I just waited until it came on Netflix. But I mean, I can't articulate how great this film was any better than you gents have said. It was phenomenal, all around. It's got so many like what moments, like the explosion happens and like she pushes them in the crevice of between the buildings, and you just see her fly back with all that debris, and you're like, fuck no, she's not making it out of that. Spoiler alert, she does, but you don't find that out. Spoilers,
right?
But,
which I love that too, because you get the gut punch, and then at the end you're like, oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, or does she?
Yeah, and then I found out there's a post-credit scene or some shit that like I didn't even know about. Like,
what happens?
She's got like scales or something coming up her neck or something.
Yeah,
right,
no, that's in the main part of the movie. When he hugs her, whatever, she leans over and you can see this like black thing spreading on her neck.
So she's a mutant? Is this the Sonico fucking origin
I think it's
story?
some sort of radiation poisoning or whatever.
Huh. Okay. Well, that makes sense. That's taking more.
I thought they were setting her up to be the next movie.
Yeah,
monster, man. See, we're ruined by the MCU now.
Yeah, right? I know.
Sequels or. But just like that's a sad moment. There was a lot of like cheerful moments as well, like when the young rookie shows up with all those like ships at the end. I'm like, fuck yeah, they needed that backup. I like how it kind of the time period that it explored, like picking up immediately after like World War II, and they kind of speak on like the whole comic, the the shame of the kamikaze attacks and stuff like that.
Right.
And how, you know, they really can't reach out to anybody at this point, you know, because of what the country's just been through. So they kind of take it upon themselves to deal with this situation that they feel they've created. So, you know, it speaks on the honor that culture is very prevalent with. But no, this has really inspired me to want to go revisit all the Godzilla films, even the shitty ones.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying, man. Like, I don't know. Right now, I love getting into something fresh. When I'm like new into something, I'm just like discovering, and I'll fucking go crazy on some shit and just like burn myself out. So that's how I feel like I'm at the beginning of a journey right now when it comes to Godzilla. I wanted to get into the action. Like this won an Oscar for the CGI. What is it? What is the word that I'm looking for? What's the Oscar called? Visual effects.
Visual effects.
Yeah, visual effects. Yeah.
Incredible. So when I go into it, I'm watching, like, I'm really looking for like, oh, what's this Godzilla gonna look like? And it does not disappoint. He's so solid. Like the weight, you feel the weight, like when he steps, that you don't always get in CGI, that you do get in the Man in the Rubber Suit a lot of times. That's one thing that they do have, is there's like a weight to them. But the action in this is fucking insane, dude. They spread the set pieces out really nicely. You never go too long without getting one, and when you do get one, they never disappoint. But John, what did you think of just this version of Godzilla, like compared to past versions? And has Toho, one thing I wanted to know specifically from you, has Toho done CG? Like, because they're mostly the Man in the Rubber Suits. When did they go from Man in the Rubber Suits to CG? And like, how good was it at first? Did it take them a while to get there? Or, like, is Shin Godzilla CG?
Shin Godzilla CG. So Final Wars was the last film they did on that set where they had a giant pool and a fake Tokyo city. And it was a pretty large, pretty elaborate set and a pretty deep pool. And the detail was amazing. So after Final Wars, Toho, that studio that had been there for 50 some odd years, Toho tore it out. And they said, oh, well, the next one will have to be, you know, CG. But there was no time. Hey, when are they going to do another Godzilla? Then we got the MonsterVerse, and then finally they did Shin Godzilla, which they did was in fact CG.
How is that compared to this, as far as like the look of it?
I would say it's not as good. There's parts that are pretty phenomenal, but it definitely feels like that Minus One had a bigger budget. It didn't have a bigger budget, but it felt like it because I think the visual effects team, there was just a better team. So it doesn't feel like made for TV. But don't get me wrong. Shin Godzilla is spectacular and done very well. But I think Minus One is on a different level when it comes to the visual effects. And so Final Wars was the last one. They tore it down. And it was such a big set. And again, just to see the pool that they used that was supposed to be the ocean. I mean, it looked like it went on for miles. It didn't. But it was just this elaborate set. And to see Toho tear it down was just like heart-wrenching. You know what I'm saying? But they knew it was time to move on from the rubber suit. I was fine. I actually liked the Millennium Era films, Final Wars and, you know, Tokyo SOS and all. I thought they were done well. By then, I thought, perfected the rubber suit. You know, and they still do these rubber suits for, you know, the new Ultraman and stuff like that. So it still exists. And then they add some CG here and there. But unfortunately, on those shows, you can tell there's a budget, and some of their CG is pretty bad.
Right.
So maybe it's good that, you know, there's not a Godzilla show, because they'd probably water it down a little bit.
Hell yeah. What did you think? What was some of your favorite moments of action through the movie? What stands out to you?
When they realize Godzilla's behind him in the boat and his head comes out almost Jaws-ish, and they're like shooting at him and he's like coming towards them. Visually, that is just spectacular. Like, that is mind-blowingly amazing. Also, that the scene when he first comes through Ginza, you know, he hits Tokyo and he's coming through Ginza and just destroying everything. And you think it's already bad as it is, but then he does that, you know, his charged breath, atomic breath thing, and then destroys everything. It's visually impactful, but he's terrifying. He's absolutely terrifying. So those two scenes really stood out. So basically anytime he's on screen, he really is, you know, he's Godzilla, and he brings forth this Godzilla presence that, you know, doesn't work with. I love Jurassic Park movies, but not as terrifying. Those monsters, you know what I'm saying? The dinosaurs would never have been as terrifying as Godzilla is in this movie. And it's just, visually phenomenal. I really do love the recreation too of this post-war era Japan. I think they did a great job. And I knew there was a lot of practical with some CG. So watching some behind the scenes stuff, there was way more CG than I thought. You know what I'm saying? I thought it was practical with some CG backgrounds. There was a lot more CG than I expected because I think it was blended pretty well.
Yeah.
And obviously the limited set. I mean, more of it was done. I'm like, okay, well, they did in this because you can go visit Japan and there are lots of parts of Japan where they've preserved this era. You know what I'm saying? They got some towns and parts of Kyoto and Isa and stuff that have this old school feel. So they could have filmed there, but it looks like majority of it was actually done on a back lot. And they built these buildings and they just did CG. So I'm impressed by the CG was blended so well. And really, I felt was a good representation of old school Japan. Visually, it's marvelous.
Hell yeah, man. You mentioned the budget. It's crazy. When you look at this movie and it feels like an MCU movie, as far it looks like an MCU movie or like one of these new Godzilla movies in a way. And then you look at the budget and it's just like a tenth of it or whatever it is. It's like mind-boggling that they got it. I told that to my wife and she's like, someone got ripped off. She's like, someone was working for free. Like for sure. It's like maybe that guy might have been just sitting there on that fucking computer. Because you look at like those specific shots where he's like just whipping his tail and the just fucking buildings are going. The detail in the rubble stands out so much. Like that's not what usually they just like hide all that shit behind motion blur.
Well, they got this dude on a bundle budget, probably, right? He's a writer, director, and special effects head. Like, hey, you do all three, but we're gonna lump it all together and get ourselves a bundle deal.
Exactly. Robbie, what did you think of the action, the CG, and the Godzilla-ness of it all?
CG looked great. I loved the evolution of Godzilla in this movie, how he starts off smaller and he starts growing, like as he gets, you see him like he gets caught up in one of the atomic tests, right? And he grows bigger. Seeing the regeneration happen was super gnarly. You mentioned weight. I also would mention the texture of it was very gnarly. And when those spikes start coming up, when he's like charging up his atomic breath, it's like chilling. And then the atomic breath just looks fantastic when it goes off. You really feel the intense impact of that, right? Action scenes, the scene that John mentioned, the boat scene when he's trailing behind on the boat and they're having to like put the mine in his mouth and like shoot the mine because the fuse broke. That is so put together so perfectly. Jaws is a perfect description for that, man. The way that you're seeing the terror of the gentleman on the boat and the dire circumstance that they're in. And then the very menacing and scary Godzilla face behind him and just coming at him, and seeing Godzilla be very agile in the water like that was just so freaking, that was my favorite thing. And then the very beginning too, when he shows up on that little island and he's like smaller and more concise. And at first I was like, oh, so he's a smaller Godzilla, but no,
I was a little bit.
He's even like, he's hunched over. He's like more like an animal. He's less, but then he becomes that one man, and he does got them thunder thighs for sure.
I love like the one view of those thighs where you really see like the mechanics of it. Like, I don't know. It just looks like a machine almost. But Steph, my brother, any favorite moments from the action? What do you have to add to this section?
I mean, but those are some key moments that we touched on. Great moments. I did appreciate the beginning when it was a little bit smaller, the opening scene where he's a little bit more vicious, it seems, in his attacks, because he's still big, but he's not knocking down buildings just by walking. So he's a little bit more aggressive with his attacks, which was cool.
Right.
The boat scene, I think that's, everyone brings it up, but for good reason. It's such a great set piece. Like John said, when you see like the shot of like the boat ahead and you see like Godzilla trailing in the background, just kind of swimming and it's very visually appealing. And it's just, it leads to a lot of great moments. Like I was saying, like, when you think the boat's fucked, all of a sudden that battleship comes out of nowhere, like, and starts blasting the shit out of Godzilla. Like Robbie said, their rejuvenation, crazy to see him stitch himself back together.
I love when his eye like comes back. It's like he's dead, and then he like, comes back to life, and his eye like rolls back. Yeah, crazy looking.
I liked when he this is all part of the boat scene, but when he like goes underwater and like shoots the atomic blasts and just blasts the shit out of the big battleship, that was pretty cool. But
is that something? Have we ever seen in like when he uses his atomic breath? where it causes a mushroom cloud, or is that new to -1? Because it's very symbolic and it's just badass. You ever seen that, John?
I'm trying to. I want to say I have, but I can't place my finger on it and say, oh, it was in this film. So maybe not. I'm trying to remember the atomic breath in Shin Godzilla, but now it's fuzzy. You know what I'm saying?
Right. It's so
maybe
impactful.
Yeah, maybe not.
Oh, the other thing I want to know is, do we ever see his spikes do that in order for him to use his atomic breath? Is that new to this movie? Or
that's something I don't recall them ever extracting.
That's cool. I like how the one like pushes in, like it's the button. It charges up and then it fucking blows.
Yeah.
It's
if it happened, I don't recollect it because, on the bright side, if you're like running from Godzilla, you can see it coming out and like, okay, gives you time, I guess. You're like, oh, by then you're probably in his.
Let me outrun this nuclear.
Yeah, maybe it's too late.
All right. All right. We've been running pretty long, but we have to touch on like the story part of it, the drama, a little bit more on the characters and the theme. It's we're talking about this movie like it's so action packed, but like I said, it has room to breathe. I was thinking of it as like a good song, like the best songs. There's like when everybody's doing not when everybody in the band is doing the least that they can do. And that's how this feels. Like every plot line is doing the least it can do to get to where it's supposed to go at the end. And it's so fucking clean and dramatic. And the other thing I wanted to say, like, it has all these big blockbuster movie moments. We're going to get together. We're going to get the band together and we're going to decide how we kill this monster. And they're doing those scenes that are so like tropey. And I found myself like in literal tears at one point because they're talking about like such serious real life shit. Talking about like, well, we don't need to be sacrificing our lives for this. The goal is to not lose anybody. And we've seen that scene a million times, but it hits so much differently in Godzilla -1 because of all the reasons that I've said. But John, what are maybe some of the standout moments, or what do you think of the characters? What do you have to say on this part of what we're talking about?
Oh yeah, man. It's definitely hits you. The talking about, setting after World War II, immediate events of World War II, and him being a kamikaze pilot. And then you got that lady who blames him. Why didn't you, as if he would have died, somehow they would have won the war, when that wasn't the case. You know what I'm saying? Right. At that time, Japan was on their last leg. It was inevitable. They were going to lose the war there. And, but that whole thing with his, he's got this inner war because he felt like he let these people down. He felt like he should have died. His struggle is it hits hard, man. You feel bad for this character. And I think that's a terrible way to look at things. So like you have to go to war and die. And he felt like he should have. And, that's just, war is hell. And there shouldn't be casualties. And Japan, especially with the kamikaze pilots, were like, oh, they were at a point where they're just like, let's throw waves of our lives to stop, the US. And that's a terrible way to look at it. You know what I'm saying? And that the whole thing, and it's interesting they brought that up, and that the director and the writers talked about this with such like gravity because it was real. I mean, this happened. These events, at least pre-Godzilla, were realistic things. When you see the firebombed cities, and it's pretty terrible. And the original Godzilla touched on that. I mean, it takes place after the events of World War II, and that's how Godzilla was created, and it's sort of an anti-atomic bomb thing. And I actually went to Hiroshima recently and went to the Peace Memorial, and it's the saddest, most devastating thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And it just hits so hard. And they want to use most of that as, here's what happened, but also here's how we can prevent it. You know what I'm saying? They're very anti-nuclear weapons and pro-peace. And I think that's captured a lot in the Godzilla films to bring that, to light. And the biggest thing, the most impactful thing, I think, was the internal war. And then when he finally finds out Noriko is alive, she asks if his war is over. And that just like, man, that hit me, man. That hit me hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And the moment that he loses her and his whole struggle, where it's like he doesn't think he deserves a family, which I'm just realizing right now. Like that's what it is. He doesn't think he deserves to have this.
Yeah, that's
family.
Like, oh, your wife, and it's not his wife. He never feels like he's worthy of her or the kid to be a dad, to be, you know what I'm saying? It's not like he doesn't like her. I mean, how can you not? She's gorgeous.
She's so gorgeous. So
yeah,
attractive.
and we should really watch Shin Kamen Rider because she's in that and she's a badass in that. It's a completely opposite character for her because instead of her being this, you know, meek little thing, although she does save Shikishima when the, you know, during the blast, but she's like a badass, strong character in Shin Kamen Rider, which is a completely different character type. But she's amazing in it, and I lost track because now I'm thinking about her. And I can't. I don't know my train of thought. She's great though. So check out Shin Kamen Rider is what I want to tell people to do. Don't sleep on Shin Kamen Rider.
Hell yeah, Robbie, what did you think about this chunk, the story, the drama, the characters?
I loved them. I would agree with 9-Panel Grid, our friend Easy Dick Eric in the chat that
Easy Dick.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever cared about the characters in a Godzilla film, whether it's American or Japanese. Even the original Gojira. I mean, it's the tone, it's the mood, it's the themes, right? And this has all of that too, as well as characters that I'm really into. The story itself is relatively simple. It's the thematics that are rich and complex, right? And I love the idea that like once Godzilla shows up, it's the people that are putting together the response. It's not the military because they're, you know, everything like after the war, Japan had to like give away a lot of their weapons and stuff like that. Right. And like demilitarize a little bit or something. Like there was a lot of things going on there, a lot of US involvement in that. There's no real US involvement or Japanese involvement from the governments. Right. It's this is focusing on the people's response. Right. And even though there's elements of the military there and there's elements of the science community there, it is about the people, right? And I love that because it's like the government's not dealing with it, right? It's the real people, and these are the real people who have to deal with the truly devastating effects from geopolitical decisions and that lead to war, right? Like it's not the presidents and the emperors that are like devastated by the ramifications of what happens when a country gets bombed or nuked or something like that, right? Like they deal with it in some sense, but the real people that are there, their lives are irrevocably, I messed up their lives are forever changed by that, right? and the idea that there is no honor in dying for a government cause or like for like something like that. Like I understand nationalism and pride in your nation and patriotism and stuff like that. But what's truly worth dying for is protecting the people you love. And that's the thing I think he realizes at the end, because this is a culture where he's dealing with a lot of shame because he didn't fulfill his mission of a kamikaze pilot, right? He didn't throw his life away for a worthless cause.
I was almost worried that was, they almost pretend like that might be the message of the film in the end. You know what I mean? Is that you have to, there's one that came out in 2003 that the director said he was a big fan of. John, maybe help me out. It's like Godzilla versus Mothra versus Ghidorah or somebody else. It's like 3 monsters. Anyway, in that one, which I just watched, it does seem almost like the message is you should have sacrificed your life for your country or whatever. That in that situation, you know, kamikaze wasn't a bad idea. This one, it's almost leading me down the path of thinking like, oh my God, is that going to be the message at the end? But then they fake you out and they go the opposite. It's like,
that's the brilliance to me of the structure of that. It's because he's dealing with this shame that's placed on him by people. Like you're a failure because you didn't, like John said, like it would have ended the war or something. Like it would have won the day, right? This one soldier's life, right? And he does have a lack of courage at times, but he's confusing his lack of courage for the shame of not just giving himself away for a worthless cause, right? For something that's honor. It's for honor and stuff like that, right? Where true honor would be sacrificing your life for someone you love, right? Which is what's her name does for him, right? And then by the end of that film, what I love is that, they trick us, right? Because he's already made that decision that what's more noble than dying to save everybody from Godzilla is helping to defeat Godzilla and surviving so that he can be there for that kid.
Yeah.
Right. And that's to me is the true honor of the film that he finds.
Hell yeah, man. It's so fucking good. And that moment too, when the plane, spoiler alert, when the plane hits Godzilla at the end, even before you see the parachute, which is great too, but just and then the silence and how Godzilla doesn't like shake at all. He's just like, it's like running into a brick wall. It's so fucking cool. The angle looking up, Such a great.
It's irrevocably cool.
Exactly.
Easy for you to say.
Link, my brother, what you think, man?
Amazing. In terms of the characters and their relationships, very strong in the thematics, like Robbie was saying. I liked Rip in the beginning. You get a vibe of our main hero and how his character is when he finds his adopted daughter. And then he's like in the market with her, and he's like waiting around all day, and he finally is like walking away, or he finds the chick Noriko. And it was like a line of dialogue where he like said I couldn't just leave the baby here, something like that. And she like has this light bulb that comes on in her head. She's like, oh, he's a good guy. He's not gonna just And so she like starts following behind him and shit, feeding him a line of like, we can't stay in the streets. So off rip, you see he's a good dude. It seemed like everyone in this movie was kind of like selfless, or I think it ties into the themes of like helping each other. Whether it was like the old woman that was scorning them at the beginning, but she still gave like her last bag of rice so the baby could eat.
She's like the youngest old woman in the history. Like she plays the role of young old lady, but she's like 30. I don't get it.
That's true.
The makeup.
Yeah.
Or when they were telling the young kid to stay back because he was their future, and then when he disobeying him and comes and helps them, saves. Everyone was very selfless in this movie. Even the scene at the end where you think before the parachute, and they do the flashback and they show that the dude told him that I did put like an ejector seat in here. Yeah,
it's heart. Yeah, there's a shitload of
heart. Yes, there's a lot of heart and emotion. But no, I think all the characters were well, like even the subplots and the minor characters. I think everyone's shown and played a great part in this. That there was a very, very strong theme in this movie, people, and they did a good job exemplifying that.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. Well
people
said, man.
Make communities, not governments.
You goddamn right. Fuck the government. All right. Now that I've said that, we can move on. Yeah, man, I guess you guys have said it all well. It's a blockbuster that I could cry at. That's pretty much sums it up. It's so good. I don't dislike anybody. And you're right, Robbie. I think you said all those side characters, they don't get much, but they're all super likable. They don't decide to throw in an annoying one or some weird tension with somebody that you don't need. It's like the only tension that I can think about is within the main character and Godzilla. There's not some other subplot that's just fucking annoying to get through, which I always appreciate.
Like the doctor and the captain and then the other guy on the ship. Like I love them. And I really did feel like the friendship that formed in the movie.
Right. And then the other thing, this is another, just like the journey. Like you really, really feel the journey. It's a 2-hour movie and it feels like it earned being 2 hours or 2 hours and 6 minutes or whatever. You feel like you've been through some shit with these characters by the time you get to
I'm
the
surprised Robbie made it through the 2 hours. I know he can't make it past an hour and a half.
Because he watches too many horror movies. All right. I have to get up out of here in about 10 minutes or else I'm probably going to get divorced. So let's go around real quick and rate this bad boy and get up out of here. John Hammer Time Holeshoe, owner and operator of the Horny Time Holeshoe, located in sunny Huntsville, Alabama. Nothing? No giggle from you, right? You don't remember the Horny Time?
Yeah,
I remember. Yeah. We have shirts. We have somebody buy a shirt.
Shirts.
There you go. What's your rating out of 5, brother?
A 6 if I can do it. So a 5. Obviously, I would go higher if possible. I think it's just done so well. The story's great. Visual effects are great. Music's great. There's nothing. It never drags. Like you said, it's done so well. And even people that don't care about Kaiju or Godzilla could go watch this film and just love this film. I do like that they bridge that gap where you don't have to be like, it's not just monsters fighting monsters. There's more to it, and it's done so well, and it's beautifully done. And it's one of those films too that, even if you don't care about Godzilla or that type of movie, go and see it. And somebody, it may give you some watery eyes. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Oh, definitely, man. It's good. Men, women, children. It's a movie for everybody, like 100%. Robbie, what's your rating, dude?
You mean to tell me that they made a movie for the fraction of a cost of what most big blockbuster movies in Hollywood are made for. You tell me they made this movie at a fraction of the cost, and it has just as much epic scope and excitement and must-see at a theater. Like, I was so pissed off after I watched this movie, and I was like, well, I should have watched that in the theater. I should have made the time. I like, come on, re-release it, put it back out. You'll make more money. I want to see this on the biggest screen possible. But they were able to do that, but at the same time, go so much deeper than the piss poor levels of character development in some of these movies that we make here in Hollywood. They're supposed to be the big blockbusters of the summer. This actually goes as deep as an art house film without having its pretension being so fucking obvious and up its own ass that it's annoying and it turns you off. This movie has none of that. It's able to be deep and resonant and have thematic richness to it. And it's able to be giant, exciting, explosive action. This is what blockbuster movies should be, are capable of being, if we really focus on the right things, which is story, character, excitement, getting people wanting to watch something on a big screen. Come on. 5 out of 5. Perfect.
Hell yeah. 5
You're
out of
welcome
5.
to watch it in my house in black and white on the projector if you want to come over and watch it.
All right, I'm on my way. Oh, you're talking about
it. It is in Japanese. No, it's not subtitled. I'm just throwing it out there.
That's true. Oh, you know what? I wanted to mention real quick. Because I've been advised from most of my cinema friends that when I watch horror or foreign movies, I usually watch it with subtitles. For whatever reason, I watch this thing twice, and I wanted to enjoy the visuals so much that I just watched the dub both times I watched it. And plus, my kid's around, and I need to be able to like look at her a lot. But I'll just say it's a great dub.
They did a good job.
Yeah, it's a really, really, really good dub. I thought that you could go back and forth. If you're not into subtitles, dub's fire. But Steph, my brother, what's your rating out of 5?
Come on now. It's a 5. It's a 5. It's just a great movie all the way around. It's a universal movie. Like John said, it will bridge the gap. If you're not into Kaiju or Godzilla, there's still a lot more there to this movie in terms of the human element. And it's just beautiful visually. Like Robbie said, the fact that they did this at a fraction of a cost that most blockbusters are made for, something to be said for that. You got to respect it. So 5 all around.
Hell yeah. If I was some of these execs at the big, at Paramount or fucking whatever, I'd be, look at this. Well, yeah, I'm not giving you all that money. Look at this. Do that. You know what I mean? Or I'd be hiring those people is what I'd be doing. I'd be importing the Japanese. I'm right there with you guys, man. I gotta go 5 out of 5. I adored it. It's like my favorite blockbuster movie that I've seen since like the fucking Avengers Endgame, probably. It's like, it's so good. It's so watchable too. And it's like more watchable than the best MCU movies in a way, because it's, I don't know, it's got those quiet moments. I mean, I guess the MCU does that too. It's just super fucking watchable. 5 out of 5 from everybody. Hell yeah. Super excited about that. Almost as excited as I am about continuing Summer Abroad this Thursday with a little-known Italian horror flick, Suspiria. Mr. Rocket Robbie Billups will be joining me. It's his all-time favorite film. I got Steph with me. I think Fable is actually coming out of hiding, and he's going to join us Thursday to talk Suspiria. And Monday night, right when I get done with this, I'm going to watch Interview with the Vampire, because that's where I will be tomorrow night over on Pop Culture Philosophers, talking as we continue Crew's Choice over there. So, Robbie, go ahead and tell the people about what you got going on at Pop Culture Philosophers, my friend.
Well, comic book reviews, movie reviews. We just hit 20,000 subscribers, so thank you, everybody. We'll be doing a giveaway for that, so pay attention. Yeah, PCP movie night tomorrow night, continuing Crew's Choice with Manny's pick, and the best pick he's done. He's picked Dr. Sleep, which put me to sleep. He picked The Page Master, which made me want to turn that page faster. But this time he actually picked one that I wasn't so sure about, but on the revisit, Interview with the Vampire, pretty much a banger. So I'm excited to talk about that tomorrow night.
Hell yeah, dude. I'm super excited about it too. And my brother, Missing Link from Supreme Clientele via at Dr. Doom's Fan Club. What you guys got going on Wednesday, 9:30 Eastern time?
Yes, we are taking a break this week. Brother Stu is going to Heroes Con, so he's going to but following week, I think it's 17th, 16th, we're going to resume with Frank and Castle, Robbie's favorite. with brother John Spilios joining us.
Oh, hell yeah,
So
hell
looking
yeah.
forward to that.
Hell yeah, man. Last thing, Hammer Time Holshoe, on your way out, since you don't have anything to promote, if you could give one Godzilla recommendation, one movie that's not the original and it's not minus one that you think people should go out and watch, what is it?
Oh man. Geez, oh Pete. Maybe Godzilla against Mechagodzilla and Tokyo SOS because they're connected. So
Is that
watch
like
those two.
70s stuff? Like
No, it's like 2000.
Okay.
And it's the Mecha. My favorite version of. I'm kind of biased because I kind of have a crush on the pilot of the Mechagodzilla. She's a cutie, but also it is a really badass version of Mechagodzilla. In that Mechagodzilla and Mothra team up to stop Godzilla, and
yeah.
I really like those two. It's not going to hit like minus one does,
Right.
or the OG. If you want something that hits a little harder emotionally, then Shin Godzilla. But even Shin Godzilla doesn't hold a candle, in my opinion, to minus one.
Right. And I'm sure it doesn't, man. I mean, just because this one's so fucking amazing. Hell yeah, man. I appreciate the Hammer Time. I appreciate this very much. Thank you for being here. Robbie, thank you for being here. Missing Link, my brother, thank you for being here. All you guys in the chat, you are the absolute best. I love you, and I got to go. We will see you Thursday for Suspiria. Good times.
That will be quite enough of that.